Welcome to Wisdom Talk Radio, a collaborative community of explorers in conscious living.
What stories do you carry around about growing older? Much of our Western society would have us be fearful of diminished capacity, loneliness, struggle. Do you ever, when you think about aging, imagine newfound freedom, pleasure, vibrancy? What if we reframed the whole experience of aging as a potent time for creative expression? Imagine a world for a moment, if you will, where each season of life was celebrated and anticipated with joy. This is what my guest brings today. Stay tuned. I'm Laurie Seymour, host of Wisdom Talk Radio and CEO and founder of the Baca Institute. Head over there to discover your quantum connection with your inner guidance by taking the Quantum Connection quiz. We are each designed to connect with our inner guidance differently, with Source differently. And knowing your own style is the first step of aligning with your inner guidance at a deeper level than you ever thought you could. It is, for me, the secret to having an abundant flow in your business and your personal life. So my guest today is SUMNER IRWIN, and she's a dear friend and she's a dear woman, and you will, I know, have the experience I have whenever I'm with her, which is of joy, which is of vibrancy, not only of her, because she is, and you'll see that, but of myself. And what gets opened up and activated within me. So let me tell you a little about her. Lee is on a mission to shatter outdated myths about menopause and aging. Her dramatic pro-age vision helps women unlock new possibilities for living their happiest, healthiest, and most fulfilled life at any age. Founder of the worldwide Radiant Wise Woman movement, award-winning teacher and international retreat leader with 30 years of experience in women's transformation, she provides new insights into vitality, sexual pleasure, self-worth, and more, so you can celebrate who you are at every stage of life. And if I can just put a little plug in, don't think if you're a man listening, oh no, this isn't for me, I'm not going to listen. Unless you're a man that has no women whatsoever in your life. So let me just put that out right now. Lee's new book, Radiant Wise Woman, Breaking Free from the Myths of Menopause and Aging, which has also a chapter for men, gives women the tools they need to resolve issues from hormone imbalance to low libido, and empowers them to embrace a new era of conscious aging. With Lee's help, you may never act your age again. Welcome, Lee. I'm so pleased that you are here on Wisdom Talk Radio.
Thank you, Laurie. I'm honored to be here with you and look forward to sharing with all the women and men out there who are listening.
Yeah. So we could start in so many places with this. I feel like you, in taking on this mission, have taken on a mission to not only educate, but to celebrate. And so, I think we'll be dancing on those two paths during our conversation. So, but from the education standpoint, what are the biggest myths of menopause and aging that you are bringing to light, and then maybe a little about why they're so damaging to us?
Oh, sure. Yes. So did you know, I just discovered this, over 2 million women enter menopause every year in the US alone. 2 million.
Wow. I did not.
Yes. So shocking. And so the 3 myths that I discovered as I was interviewing women, doing a lot of research for the book. 1, menopause is all about loss. You're going to dry up, lose your attractiveness, stop wanting sex. I was with a friend and we were talking about aging, and she said, let's look up, let's ask Siri on our cell phone what the definition of crone is. And do you know what Siri said? She had the audacity to say, crone means an old woman who is thin and ugly.
Wow.
Yeah. This is modern times, so shocking. So menopause is all about loss is the first one. Second one I found is menopause is a disease. It's seen as a configuration of symptoms, and they can only be cured with surgery, medication, hormones. You don't have any agency. You just turn your body over to, whoever who tells you, well, we'll fix that for you. So it's seen as a disease, not as a natural process, So that's a myth.
Yeah.
And the third one is when you reach menopause, life is all downhill from here on out. It's like we're a carton of milk and we've reached our expiration date. And so, there's nothing, we become invisible really in the world. Yeah. And these are so damaging. I'm so glad that you want to know why, what does this do to us? Because it's so much part of the old narrative that I'm hoping, will change. It's damaging because it teaches us to feel bad about ourselves as women. If you're aging, then you need to be ashamed. And shame, as you probably know, and your listeners know, shame is the lowest vibration a human can carry on the planet. So, it takes us right out of our vitality, our creativity, our oomph, our drive when we feel ashamed. So I believe that aging and becoming old don't have to be synonymous. So, can we appreciate our laugh lines? Can we see those as a map for one's life?
And
how beautiful is that?
It's a natural evolutionary process.
Right. And we are so blessed to be alive, especially the years that we've been through, the past 2-3 years. Yeah. Just the blessing of being alive. Let us be grateful for that. Yeah. And I believe, part of the naturalness of the process of growing older is that we get to feel vibrant, healthy, and really more attractive because we let go of a lot of the the constrictions, the conditioning that tell us that we have to look a certain way or we have to dress a certain way, to be worthy, or we have to accomplish huge things, but we get to relax. That's what women told me as I was interviewing them, and clients as well. I would get emails or phone calls from them, and they'd say, I finally, after menopause, I realized what was really important to me, and I could relax into my own life. I finally have time for me.
Yes, indeed. And, it's also making me think about or reflect on how there's been these different moments in my own life in the last few years, even before COVID, but certainly during COVID, that I would think, well, is it too late for me?
Oh, yeah.
Like I've come to a certain age and, oh my goodness, I'm tired. I'm tired of pushing. And so let me give up the pushing and then let me see what is here. And that's what I want to say mostly come to. There's still those moments where I think, oh, do I still continue?
Yes, I feel that. And I resonate with it. Yes. And, I think it's good to ask, like, what am I moving toward? And what is really calling? What is my heart calling to me? So one thing that I've learned to say, and I'll just share this with you and with the listeners, is how can I be of greatest service to the whole? And the whole may be my relationship with my husband. It may be my family with grandchildren and children. The whole may be my neighborhood, or it could be the whole world, but how can I be of greatest service in this moment, in this time, to the whole? And that really brings me back to a place where I'm being true to myself. And I'll share one more piece about this. I learned so much as I was writing the book. I think that's a lot of reason why people write, it's to learn about themselves and, what they're going through. And I did do that. And one thing I learned was it is possible, because I was a pusher. I've been a pusher all my life, plan and push and produce,
Yes.
And perfectly. So, the 4 P's.
Oh my, yes.
Right? You know what I mean? And now, I'm at a stage in life where I can let a lot of things go, the things that are not important, the people who are not, lighting me up. So what I learned is that it is possible to combine purpose with play.
Oh, speak to that.
Right?
What do you mean?
Well, there's the image is, and I'll see if I can show you. Do you know the Vesica Pisces? Do you know where it's like 2 overlapping, like kind of like a Venn diagram? It's 2 circles. Well, there's one, think of one as play and the other is purpose. And you can focus on one or the other. But what if you could, the more you played, the more you were of service? What if the more you played, the more money you made?
Yeah.
Right? And so the place where those 2 circles intersect, that is called the Vesica Pisces, which is also the Christian symbol, the fish. That's the Vesica Pisces. And it's a very potent sacred geometry symbol. And I just love that, because when I see that symbol or think of it or I'll draw it, I think, yes, I can be playful. I can play with this. I can experiment. I'm not gripping. I can come with open hands and open heart to whatever situation, including my purpose, which seems so dire. I was like, no, but I must learn this and I must get this done and, develop this program and go out and share it with the world and have 1,000 million, people, followers.
Oh my goodness. I've had so many and still have so many clients that come with that, from that place of, I really need to know my purpose. First of all, as if we only have a single purpose, as if our purpose is not continuing to evolve forever and ever and ever until we take our last breath.
Absolutely.
I love what you've brought into this, because we get to hold it lightly rather than seriously. And I've been a serious person in my life. And that's never served me, actually.
Yeah. But now you're wise enough to realize that.
I'm wise enough to know that, well, first of all, I want to have fun. I want to play. And I love that you are bringing it in such a way that you're not saying, oh, well, just relax, just going out and have a good time.
Yeah.
It's how can we be of greatest service to the world, to the whole, to the
whole. Yes.
Yeah.
By combining play and purpose, or play and service, however you want to think about it. Yeah. And so something you said sparked a thought in me. That what I tell people is the number one way to navigate menopause and aging is to tap into your creativity.
Yes.
Yeah. And I know, a lot has been said and written and talked about creativity, but I want to share a story I heard. There's a 98-year-old man, and I was looking, here we go. His name is Ashley Bryan. He's a Maine artist, and he was the first African-American author and illustrator of a children's book. And that was I believe in the 70s. So he said, his quote is, Each day I look forward to finding the child in myself who's eager to create something new and wonderful.
Mm.
I mean, just imagine being a 7-year-old, like when you were 7, probably you were at peak, wonder about the world and just could not wait to jump out of bed and go outside and just explore, right? And find the joy.
Yeah.
So tapping into that 7-year-old self, that's the key to healthy aging. And that is because that leads to creativity, which is always being present to the moment, present to the beauty, and feeling grateful for it. I mean, what a better recipe for healthy aging than that?
Yeah. And seeing what wants to emerge.
Exactly.
I'm such a big appreciator of what our creative potential is, and that each of us has our own unique package and our own unique voice. And I want to say our task, if you will, is to see what that is. It's just about discovery. And in the discovery, we get to express. And, no matter what the stage of life is, I feel like that's true. And yet when we come to this later part of life, it feels like it's even more important because there's less focus on it. In other words, there's less permission even for that.
And we are the ones who give ourselves permission.
And that's what's
followed.
Yeah.
Yes. And Laurie, I just have to say, one of the greatest gifts of many that you have given me through our friendship, you taught me how to follow the energy. You would just quietly, we would be in a group or talking, and you would say, it would come to you, to speak your part, and you would say, I'm just following the energy in that quiet, very grounded way. And I thought, wow, you mean it's possible to actually just follow the energy of whatever is happening? And then you don't have to angst about what is the answer? How should I make this decision?
Yeah.
Is this right or wrong? And you know how we second guess ourselves and we get in that hamster wheel of worry that keeps us awake at night. Absolutely. But if we follow the energy, we know.
Yes, and that's the inner guidance, is the following the energy. And we would think by this time in our lives that we would say, oh, well, I give myself permission to do whatever I want to do. But there's another whole layer to following the energy, to actually dancing with our inner guidance, because we can do it from that place of limitation. We can follow the energy, or we can think we're following the energy. We can do whatever we want to do, and we're really not taking into consideration being of service, greatest service to the whole. And so I so love that, because I've always felt like and seen that the energies work appropriately. And so that if I hear something, if I'm guided to do something, I know it's not just for my own personal benefit. It is, but it's also got a bigger picture.
Exactly. And the one of the most important things to me, this essential piece to know, is that after menopause, like Dr. Christiane Northrup, who wrote The Wisdom of Menopause years ago, like a Bible for women, she says, she knows, and she said that there are 2 hormones in a woman. Yes, it's FSH and LH. And probably if you thought you were in perimenopause, you had those tested and they said, oh yeah, they're waning, they're going away. Well, guess what? They become, after menopause, so their reproductive hormones before menopause. After menopause, they transform like magic into neurotransmitters that feed the right side of our brain, which is the
Wow.
intuitive side, right? So I
Wow.
think of it as lubricant for our intuition. Right?
That is amazing. I didn't know that. I
Isn't it?
love it.
Yeah,
Oh,
right. So our intuition just lights up our telepathic abilities. People out there may be aware of this. It's like, wow, all of a sudden it's like a curtain was pulled back from the window and I could see clearly. And I started getting these messages or downloads, or I started knowing, like you said, your inner knowing comes online after menopause when we enter the wise woman phase. That's what's happening.
That's why it's called the wise woman phase.
That's right. We just have to honor it and trust it, because I think that's a lot of what I had going on, and a lot of women I know. It's like, can I really trust that that's not my ego talking, or that that's not me being selfish? And we know what selfish is. It's having no self.
No, but that's I recently right now I'm in the middle of it. Probably when people hear it, that it'll be over, but I'm in the middle of the first time that I'm teaching a inner guidance mastery blueprint, and it's a 6-week course. And I felt so moved to do it because of that trust issue, because of how much we second guess ourselves, and that second guessing gets in the way of being able to know when you make a decision that it is the right decision. It keeps people from stepping forward with a great idea and making it real, because they're saying, well, no, it's probably just my ego. Who am I to have this great idea?
And so how did you say a little more about how you went from, oh, I don't know if I should do this, because I know you have creative ideas, and then, it's like, well, how do you get from that idea to actually taking action and doing the thing?
For me, it has been, really decades of being opened to and activated that inner guidance connection, and knowing that relationship so intimately that I remember really where it started for me was that place of feeling in my own body the difference between the self-doubt, which was so much a part of me, and feeling that love of presence within, the love within my own heart, within my own self. And that was so strong and so real that anytime the self-doubt would come up and threaten to take me off track, I could look at that and say, oh, you're not true. This is the old story. This is like all the old stories we have about aging. This is the old story. And you're an employee that really is undermining the rest of the company. So I'm getting rid of you.
Love that. You're fired.
You're fired.
Right. I'm the boss of me now. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, trust that knowing. And I love what you said about the body wisdom, because what I've discovered is, in the book I talk about the 3 phases of the energies, the 3 energies of woman, and the first one is the maiden, and typically in her 20s, and that is related to the second chakra, your belly, because that's the center for creativity, for pleasure, anything's possible. That's the maiden energy. The queen is what you were talking about, and that is in the heart. So compassion, nurturing, that's typically when women are in their 30s to middle 40s, pre-menopause, when they're nurturing a family or business. And then the wise woman, moves up to our third eye, our intuition. And all of those energies are always communicating. There's a flow between those. We don't give up our creativity or our pleasure when we move into wise woman, but the maiden needs the wise woman with her intuition. Yeah. The queen needs her maiden to help her balance the pleasure with the purpose. So Yeah. So I just love that whole idea about body wisdom and tapping into what is your body really telling you? Because if we ask and listen with listen with awareness, like you were talking about, we will know, our body will tell us. You know, how many times have you asked yourself something and your stomach kind of felt queasy or it flipped, you know, or your throat, you started talking about something and your throat closed up. I've had that happen.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And you're like, whoa, okay, pay attention. There's a message there. There's something not being spoken, or there's some, you know, my gut reaction is telling me there's something off here, and let me go explore what that is before I take action, before I say yes.
Exactly. And it's so important to not assume what that means. I have seen people, and I probably have done it myself. Oh, my gut is tight. That means that I'm not to do this.
Yeah.
Because it may be, as I go into it and query about it, it may be that I'm scared. You know, that it's something that's just exactly what I'm to do. But that it's stretching me in a way that part of my brain, that amygdala that says, oh, no,
Yeah.
mastodon ahead, turn around.
When it's actually just you stepping out in a bigger way into the world. And of course, you know, that gets scary. And we can do it anyway.
Yeah, but to do it anyway, but until you take the time to unravel that bodily sensation, that feeling body sensation.
Right, not just push through it like was part of the pushing that we talked about earlier, pushing ourselves in spite of what our body was saying. I mean, I didn't even know I was not in tune with my body at all for most of my life. And it's so nice to be developing a relationship with her, you know, or she's my friend. I don't have to hide her or be ashamed of her or, you know, mistreat her really by ignoring her, you know, just running roughshod.
Yeah. So I'm curious. There's so many great tips in your book for pretty much everything, but you know, for navigating life, for for living a full life, but particularly around women's sexuality, because that is an area that, as we get into this later time in life, for many women, they shut down.
Yes.
Or they may not shut down, but society wants to shut them down. Oh, no, you're done.
Yeah, right.
So
don't let that out.
Right.
That's too scary. It's way too frightening for society to see.
Yeah.
An older woman who's, you know,
Go ahead. No.
Who I was going to say is full of herself, you know, but that has such a negative connotation. But it really is that you are filled up with the pleasure of being in a body, and that you have this wisdom now, and there are things you want to do. You know, you want things that bring you more alive. And so, you know, how are you, you know, what I tell women and what I tell myself, really, what I've taught myself is, how are you dressing yourself? You know, do you feel frumpy when you wear that? I used to wear all black, you know, and kind of hide as, you know, like a burqa almost, but, you know, and I know women who do that, but it's like, do you love color? What color is your favorite color? Wear that. Wear silk. Wear a caftan, you know, if you want to be in flow. Anyway, so does it make you feel frumpy, or does it make you feel confident or sensual, or how do you want to feel? So,
well, what surprise did you discover when you were interviewing older women particularly about their sexuality?
So much. But the most surprising thing I discovered is that after menopause, a woman can reach her sexual peak of her entire life. And that's not what we think of. That's not the story we've been told. It's all, oh no, if you're a young, you know, foxy thing, sexy thing, whatever, that's going to be your peak.
Mhm.
Oh no, women told me, a friend named, I'll call her Kelly, said, my husband and I, when we were, first married for about 10 years, we would chase each other around the kitchen table, and, and, had a great sex. And she said, we always had a good sex life. She
Mhm.
said, but honey, after menopause, it got even better.
Yeah.
She said, because I wasn't worried about getting pregnant.
Mhm.
I could let myself, she came into a more of appreciation of her own body and what turned her on, and
Mhm.
she was better able to speak that to him.
Yeah.
And they had so much fun with their imagination, just exploring
Mhm.
and, playfulness, really.
Yeah, the
You know,
pleasure and purpose coming together.
exactly. And the intimacy, into me see,
Mhm.
that came online more so when they were both in their wisdom years.
Ah.
So, with that intention. And I know libido, I've experienced it. It's like, oh, where'd my libido go?
Mhm.
Well, so I had to go look for her. Like,
Ah.
no, I really miss that. And
Yeah.
I miss that intimacy with my husband. And so, we had to co-create it together, really, and let
Mhm.
ourselves be really vulnerable with each other. And I'll tell you, can I just mention a couple of resources I
Sure,
found that?
please do. Yeah.
Okay, great. This may be helpful. I hope it is.
Mhm.
So to start reconnecting with intimacy with yourself first, because you've got to know what, makes your body feel good or,
Mhm.
lights you up. And then you can take it, to a partner, your
Mhm.
spouse. So the first one I love is an audio book read by the author, Nyaso Carter, and it's called Tantra, Sex for the Soul. Now, Tantra, I was like, what? Tantra? No, that's a bunch of weird, positions that I couldn't possibly put my body into. But it's not about that. She starts with eye gazing and moves to just very gentle touch. They're easy steps to more intimacy and passion. So that's one. Another book I met Esther Perel. She's written a book. She's famous. She has a fabulous TED Talk about intimacy, but it's called Mating in Captivity. I love it. It's for basically long-term relationships.
Uh-huh.
Unlocking erotic intelligence, and she nails it. She's amazing. So
Mhm.
Mating in Captivity. And then the other resource I'll share is it's an online membership. It's very affordable. I think it's $47.
Mhm.
And you have lifetime access to these videos. It's called OMG Yes, like oh my God, yes.com. And it's online videos of women from ages 18 to 95 talking about their experiences with pleasure. And they actually instruct, and they make these very tasteful, beautiful videos telling you exactly what to do. Because were we ever taught what to
Of
do
course
to
not.
bring ourselves pleasure?
Mhm. Mhm.
No. And you can read a book, but I'm telling you, the videos, and it took me a while before I got up the courage to even look. I was like, oh, this is kind of intimate. Oh no. But I tell you what, the women are so relaxed and they're just there to serve,
Mhm. Mhm.
and what they share it's fun and it's useful. And so I highly recommend OMG Yes as well.
Thank you
Yeah.
for those. Those are
Oh, sure.
really um, those are useful and it sounds like they're also pleasurable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we can have fun with this.
So you are in the work you're doing. You are well, and in the space you're doing. You are really co-creating a new vision for aging,
Mm-hmm.
and even in I want to say a community, in a loose sense of that word.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak to that?
What is evolving for me, and I'm basically what I'm doing is following the breadcrumbs, because in the past I would have had a whole plan about how it was going to look, that came, I know you're chuckling because it's all coming from my ego. Okay, I've got this figured out. Now it's going to look like this. Now I just start with, back up, plan it, execute the steps, and then it will happen. Well, it never, can't even think of one time when it happened the way I thought it was going to. And then I would be disappointed. But now what I've learned is surrender. How can I surrender more so I can love more and serve more? I'm here to serve women. So I have got to surrender, get myself out of the way, and follow the breadcrumbs, because, we're always being shown. If we're paying attention, signs will come. A book will fall off the shelf that opens to the exact quote or, story that you need to read. You'll meet somebody, you'll sit down at a luncheon and the person right next to you happens to be a book reviewer or whatever. So those are the breadcrumbs that show me what is the next step. So instead of pushing myself to, what would I have done in the past? Start a huge community and be on every social media platform and, really wear myself out. Instead of that, I just realized I actually am doing the purpose and play, because I spend time outdoors. I spend time with my grandchildren, just playing, singing, playing the drums, the flute. I go in the woods, I hang out by the river, and I spend some time on the computer, creating, writing, writing a blog. Just redone my website, and but it's in keeping with the flow that you talked about earlier of the creativity, and it's moving me. I feel as if I'm moving on a river. And sometimes I go over to the bank, and rest. And sometimes it's rapids, and there are rocks and you got to, hang on or paddle hard. And sometimes you need a guide, sometimes you need someone in that boat with you.
Right.
Like, yeah. And sometimes you're not going to even get in the boat. You'll say, I'm delegating that to you. You take the boat and go down and gather that stuff and bring it back. So really co-creating with other people. That's what I'm finding is the right people, just like you. The right people are showing up in my life that are opening opportunities, and we collaborate and we create something that is of service.
Absolutely.
And it's so fun.
It's the most fun. Because I'm also hearing you are co-creating with others, but you are doing what I call co-creating with the universe.
Yes.
You are co-creating with your own quantum connection, with your own connection to source. Sometimes having to go to the riverbank, sometimes there's a guide. All of what you just described is that act of being in service through what you talked about as surrender.
Absolutely. And like you said earlier, it has taken decades. I mean, I started on that journey in late 30s. I always felt like I had a hole in my heart, like this big black hole. And that started me, I read that book, Healing Your Aloneness by Chopich. I think that's how you pronounce her name. But anyway, Healing Your Aloneness. And that was the beginning. And then I got into a therapy group, and, so it's been many decades since then.
I didn't know that, Lee. And that is how I've described how I felt as I kept searching, was that there was a hole in me that I didn't have any idea of how to fill. And what I discovered the first year of the pandemic is that I actually had a literal hole in my heart.
What?
I had a stroke.
No, I did not know that.
In April of 2020.
Yeah.
As we were starting out on this whole pandemic journey. And the reason I had this stroke, didn't know that till after, was because of this hole in my heart. So through a clot. It was something I was born with. Apparently, many people have a literal hole in their heart.
No, I didn't know that.
And so, I think of the Leonard Cohen song, or the poem, I guess, that, the crack is where the light gets in.
Yes. Yes. Or the story of the cracked jar, and the woman, is carrying water back from the well, and then she notices months later that the flowers have bloomed on the path. I love that. Oh, Laurie, I had no idea. And you're fine now, right?
I am. And I was fine pretty much after. I mean, there were some effects, but I learned so much in that. I learned so much through all that.
Wow. So the hole in the heart can be figurative or literal. Yeah. With the same effects, damaging. Yeah.
So, Lee, how can people connect with you? How can they reach out and find you?
Yes, thank you. My website is Radiant Wise Woman, the singular.com. And I'm also I have a Facebook group and a page that are both radiantwisewoman.com or whatever, Facebook. And I'm on Instagram as Radiant Wise Woman. So easy to remember, and the name of the book. So
and the book is available everywhere.
Everywhere. As an ebook and on Kindle and Kobo, and then all major booksellers, and of course Amazon. So,
I definitely wanted this book as a real tangible book, not hard copy, because it's paperback, but and then and I'm really glad I did, because it's so easy to go back to all the different exercises and suggestions, and there's so much wonderful guidance in it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love a paperback because I get to take notes. I always dog-ear the corners, and but I did. I put practices at the end of each chapter to help the reader integrate what they've just learned. And so, it's sort of a smorgasbord, a buffet, let's say, and you can pick and choose what resonates with you. And actually, when I wrote the book, my guidance team, my upstairs guidance team, told me, speak to the women's hearts. And they said, we will infuse the book with light, and the women who are reading it will discover exactly what they need to hear. So I did. I followed the guidance, and that is what is happening. That's the report I'm getting from all women who've read it.
That's certainly true for me, and certainly was my experience. Thank you, Lee Irwin. I love you. I love you to pieces.
Oh, Laurie, I love you too. And what a wonderful opportunity. I hope this was helpful.
I'm sure it's helpful to me, and I'm sure it will be to so many.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to our listeners for being with us today at Wisdom Talk Radio. Join us here regularly for more wisdom, discovery, and illumination. And remember, you can find us on your favorite place to listen to podcasts. We're on all the different platforms. And if you've enjoyed listening today, please leave us a review. You think, oh, well, I won't bother. But really, a review helps more people to connect with the wisdom, and it helps us to transform our world. And that's what we're about. So, and for more, if you need that, for deepening your connection with your own inner guidance system, take the Quantum Connection Style Quiz now.
Thanks for joining us here at Wisdom Talk Radio. We wish you well in your conscious explorations. For more information and to join in the conversation, our website is wisdomtalkradio.com or at Wisdom Talk Radio on Facebook.